All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a pretty powerful fable that completely flips the script on how we understand the true value of our own lives. We often get so incredibly caught up in the endless act of doing that we literally forget the art of just being. So we're going to explore a really profound concept today, and I think it's going to hit close to home for anyone who's ever felt like life is just kind of passing them by, or for anyone who's stuck waiting for that perfect moment to finally start living.
Think about this for a second. If someone walked up to you right now and asked, "What is your absolute most expensive possession?" what comes to mind? Is it your house? Is it your car? Maybe it's the money sitting safely in your savings accounts or your investment portfolio. We've been so thoroughly conditioned to measure our wealth purely in these tangible, physical terms, haven't we?
But the reality is actually the very second you're spending right now. Because once it's gone, all the gold in the world absolutely can't buy it back. Most of us just sleepwalk through our routines, acting like we have this infinite, unending supply of tomorrows. But as we're about to see, that is a really dangerous illusion. And honestly, it's one that can cost us our joy.
So let's jump into Section 1, the fable of Julian and this idea of trying to buy tomorrow. Let's picture a guy named Julian. Back in his youth, Julian worked incredibly hard. He carried wood, water, heavy sacks, basically building his wealth from the ground up. Actually, a lot like a young man named Alex from our source material. But fast forward to adulthood. He's sitting in this massive mansion, totally surrounded by luxury, but he develops this tragic habit. He's always too busy. When his kids asked to play, his answer was always tomorrow. When he desperately needed rest, he'd just delay it. He hoarded all this wealth until his twilight years, when his fading health brought on a sudden and terrifying panic.
Feeling this strange, heavy weight in his chest one evening, it suddenly hit Julian. He was running completely out of the one single thing he couldn't earn more of. Terrified, he grabs this heavy bag of gold and rushes to the city's wisest man, an old clockmaker living down by a quiet river. Julian begs him for a desperate trade. He's literally asking for a way to buy time so he can finally do all the things he always promised he'd definitely get to next week.
He literally shoves his massive fortune across the table. But this old clockmaker, who honestly acts a bit like the angel of time here, just looks at the gold, smiles this kind of sad smile, and reaches into a cupboard. And instead of taking the money, he pulls out a simple watch to teach Julian a vital lesson.
The clockmaker breaks it down for him. He says, look, you could go down to the market right now and sure, people might value the physical watch at 1,000 or maybe 10,000 rupees, but trying to buy the actual time ticking inside it? No way. They would literally laugh in your face.
Because you see, time has two undeniable truths. The bad news, it passes. You can't pause it, you can't stop it, and you certainly can't rewind it. But the beautiful part, the really good truth here, is that you have the absolute power to choose exactly how you spend it right now.
And this brings us to the emotional climax, the part that just shakes Julian to his absolute core. The clockmaker hits him with this hard truth. Hoarding tomorrow is just an illusion. You cannot gather gold to buy a day that hasn't even happened. All you truly own is this exact breath, this very moment.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, Mindsets of Time. Let's take this fable out of the past and look at the cost of tomorrow versus the wealth of today. We honestly see this in our own lives all the time. We often act like the brothers Rohan and Kiran from our sources. Maybe we're like Rohan, blindly chasing short-term pleasure and just wasting our gold. Or maybe worse, we're like Kiran, gripping our resources so tightly out of fear for the future that we never actually live. But then you have a mindset like Amma's. She found true peace and sufficiency simply by appreciating the present.
Take Amma, for example. She's this elderly woman who didn't need some sprawling mansion to be happy. Instead, her entire daily provision relied on just a single egg laid by her little hen, Poppy, every single morning. That was it. And for her, it was absolutely perfect. She had this wonderful saying, "One is enough, my dear. May we always have just what we need." Wow. Happiness isn't about building an endless stockpile for a future that might never show up. True wealth is deeply appreciating exactly what's in front of you right now.
But man, it is so easy to fall into the trap of deferring our happiness, isn't it? We wait. We wait for external things to change. Maybe waiting for a spouse to send money, waiting for that absolute perfect job to magically appear, or just waiting for some vague tomorrow to finally start living. Listen,
If you're waiting for everything to perfectly align before you choose joy, you are paying a massive price for a tomorrow that you simply cannot afford.
Now, contrast all that waiting with the old lady under the banyan tree from our source material. By actively waking up and just deciding, you know what, today will be a good day, she didn't magically erase her problems. Actually, scratch that. Her problems were still there. But what she did was give herself the immediate strength and the active hope to face those problems head-on, right there in the present.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, spending your time. This is the ultimate call to action, guys, because the second you change how you think about the present, your entire life begins to change.
24. That is the magic number. Every single one of us. Doesn't matter what your bank account looks like, your job title, your background, we all get exactly 24 hours today. It is the ultimate equalizer. So the big, undeniable question is, what are you actively doing with yours right now?
True wealth, much like the character Ian figured out, is realizing that our time has to be used actively and wisely. We invest it by helping others. We invest it by deliberately finding peace right now, by openly accepting our personal flaws as just a part of our unique journey, and by simply choosing to do good in the small, everyday choices we make.
It reminds me of the story of the cracked pot. It felt like a total failure because it leaked water the whole way home, but it didn't realize its imperfections were actually watering flowers along the path, creating something deeply beautiful. Your flaws can create something beautiful if you just choose to use your time to water the seeds of joy in others. Your imperfections can do the exact same thing if you just spend your time sharing a little kindness. Because here's the bottom line. Time is 100% free. You get a fresh new batch every single morning. But, and this is absolutely crucial to remember, it's the only treasure in your entire life that you can never, ever replace once it's spent. Trust me, the angel of time does not give refunds.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Take a look at your life right now and ask yourself honestly, are you living for today, watering the seeds of kindness along your path, or are you just saving water for tomorrow that hasn't arrived yet and frankly might never come? Don't wait to be wealthy in time. Choose to spend your treasure wisely today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.